waiting for my guest. Yes, there we go. There we go. Ed. Sure, I've been waiting. I'm like, I ain't get pen. I am waiting for this hand. Tell me if you can. There we come on. Yeah.
Look
It's
at us being live. Let me check for my volume. I don't hear
I
you
hear
as
you
much
so.
as I feel I should be hearing you.
Okay,
I think this is the best it can do.
okay. Nami, I lifted it up. I'm up. I'm up.
Yeah. Hello.
You took a while. You took a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, yeah. I was I was still trying to calm down.
Why are you guys scared of the camera? When I record a podcast, when I record in it, when we're just talking, you guys, the acting that you are scared of your own self. It's your own phone. You're at your home. Why are we acting nervous?
It's a relationship that we should build. I think you are getting well acquainted with it because you sit in front of it quite often, which is something that I'm here to actually master myself. So,
Oh,
for us to actually set the scene of our today's conversation, can I begin? Because if there's someone who is here and is like, I want to give them like 5 minutes to keep me engaged, so that I
I
decide if I want to sit here or
I
not.
will I will kululeka. See now you
Yeah,
take your time because remember it's also going to replay. So you
yeah,
can greet welcome to the live every Thursday. I mean I go alone. I do these talks
yeah,
alone. But
yeah,
today you have joined
yeah,
me.
yeah,
So you can greet us, tell us your
yeah.
name and your business, and then the topic is written. What we are talking about, the journey less traveled. A journey to heal
Yeah,
from
my name is
recovery.
Intabiseng Ntosha, and I am a nail tech. I have a nail salon. The name of my nail salon is Glowville Nail Bar, and that is not the reason why we are here today. We are going to talk about something else that I'm very passionate about. And pretty much, we have Glowville Nail Bar to actually thank for this conversation that we're going to be having here because um, when you are trying to build something, you are trying to learn something from scratch, and you pretty much do not have the background of what you are trying to do. It turns out that personal development is a big part of running a business. There are things that you can neglect when you are still in corporate because there are other people to cover you for that. But once you go solo and once you start your own thing, the whole business depends on you in order to survive. So you must actually look at the parts of you that you've been ignoring all along, and which is why I actually started the journey that we are going to talk about today. And I'm so
Mhm.
willing to share.
Okay, let's jump into it. So you are passionate about mental health and having a healthy mind. How did that play a role?
Yes,
Maybe so. How did your
yes,
business push you to get into that passion?
yes, yes. So I am. Am I freezing when I talk? Because you get to a point where you freeze. So I'm not sure if it is my network or yours. You
No, mina.
can hear me perfectly fine. So it's actually sending. Okay, it's fine. Then let's continue. So I had to deal with a lot of things. Remember, in the business, you actually pretty much wear all the hats. So you don't get to excuse yourself from other things. You don't get to decide if you would like to be on the production side or you wanna be on the marketing side, and whether you want to deal with customer dynamics or not, because when you are a small business and you are still starting out, everything is pretty much on your shoulder. So pretty much anything that you haven't worked on, or maybe you are not good at, or if you are not showing up as your best self, the business takes the knock on it, because you are the entire life of the business. Yeah. So that's how.
Mm. You left corporate to start your business.
Yes, I did. I left corporate to start the business, and I didn't have the business experience. So I decided that I am willing to learn. I'm willing to start over and learn. I don't have a lot of responsibilities as a person. So for me, it was low risk self into. It's not easy, it's difficult, it's really really hard, and it can cost you a lot. But in my case, it's easy because there wasn't a lot at stake. So it was safe for me to just throw myself in there.
Wow, okay. So tell us about your
Hmm.
upbringing. Oguti, how were you raised up until you now being an adult and realizing that you want to do some healing? So I think we have to know the
Yeah.
backstory, two parent household or single parent, and take it over. Ungene.
I was raised by a single parent. My mom was working as a domestic worker, and she was a very present mom. She was the most reliable person. You know, you knew if she went to work, she was gonna come back. She was doing her best to pretty much raise a family, and she had two kids, myself and my elder brother, my late elder brother, who is no more right now. And I pretty much had a fairly good childhood, because even the money that my mom had, she dedicated it to her family and to her kids. I pretty much had a fairly good, childhood with a parent with good intentions.
Okay, okay. And then where do the
Yeah.
moons come from? Okay. Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty much they come from the fact that my mom being, doing the best that she was doing. She It happens to a lot of moms. Sometimes they don't know how to, show up as their best selves. Sometimes they don't, they have their own wounds from their own childhood that they haven't recovered from what I'm learning now, which I didn't know, I'm learning that there's a possibility that my mom probably was not emotionally available, and
Wow.
um, in the mental health field, that can be recorded as a form of abandonment. When you are raising a child and you are not emotionally available, you have emotionally abandoned the child. Because when the child is going through stressful times, they cannot run back to you and you embrace them and you hug them and you say, right? Um, Even though you are present and you are providing and you are doing the things that you are supposed to do, but emotionally I pretty much felt neglected. And you must understand, with everything that my mom was doing, everything had good intentions, and maybe also was trying to shape me into someone ongahluphi, so one of the things that I can say is that you know how parents will say, Buti, um, uh, ngizokushayela into ekhona if you're gonna cry. If you're gonna cry and you were not beaten, and then they'll be like, I'm I'm gonna give you a good reason to cry, right?
Right.
Now
Yeah.
that is something that is can be looked at as, you know, a form of teaching a child to not just cry out of no reason. But what it teaches a child at the end of the day is that it is not safe for me to release my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we
Mm.
having someone asking what are we talking about? We are talking about a discovery, a
Mm.
road less traveled. It's something that I wanted to title it like that. It's a journey to healing and self-discovery, which is a road less traveled. And I'm saying it's a road less traveled because most of us, mostly Black South Africans, do not embark on a journey of healing or self-discovery. We pretty much go through our lives and we carry our childhood traumas all the way to old age if we do make it to old age. So yeah, that's what we're talking about today.
So did you have abandonment issues? Coming, did you have? Do you have daddy abandonment issues? Because she was, it was a
Oh
single parent
yes, oh
household.
yes.
Daddy.
My when I got born, my dad was married, so I actually was born out of that setup. So basically, my father could not be present with us as a family because he had his own family that he had to take care of. Right. You know? Yeah, and I do actually find it amazing because, you know, I have a very, very, very good relationship with God. I'm like, God, you weird. I'm like, God, you weird. Aren't you supposed to favor those that are actually just born out of much more, you know, likable situations? Why would you pick me? Why would you want to use me in any situation? You have, you know, better situations to work with. Yeah,
Wow.
so it comes in small ways. It's in the way that the so with the way that, you know, my mom was, you know, was raising me and how I was not allowed to cry. I remember being going through, there was a season in my life where I went through a lot of depression. I think I was a teenager. In fact, I remember crying every night, right?
Mm,
So I would pretty much,
mhm. Okay. Did you receive a phone call? Did you receive a phone call?
are you able to hear me? Because I saw this thing going around like that. Were you hearing me all along?
Please
Let me know.
connect. Please connect. Connect in paths.
Okay. Should we like stop it and start it over so I can change the network?
Or you wanna change? You can get out and come back. I mean, I can't. I don't want to.
Okay. I don't even know
Mm.
how to get out, but let me try.
Namang.
Um,
Wow. Okay. I'm enjoying listening to your story.
yeah, I'm just gonna try and get out, right? And then you can keep the viewers entertained as I get out, and I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna try and change the network.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Wow. I guess I'll have to add her again after she's changed her network. Welcome to Ogutlenkosi's channel where we do podcasts, we do chats on Thursdays, we do live chats with me. Today we have a guest. Usually I just go live alone and I talk about the things that I talk about on my channel. So today I just want to hear a journey to healing and self-discovery. How are you, Rockstar? I'm good. I'm good. Which part of the world are you from? I am in South Africa, and we keep it very kind in the comments. Okay. Every Thursday I go live. I think only last week I didn't because in South Africa sometimes there is no electricity. What else can we do? So I'm having a conversation with a yeah, that's good. Just send her another link so that she can join in. And then let's talk about how she is embracing a healthy mind. I'm from India. Oh, welcome. Why is your name Rockstar? Aren't you? Okay. Don't forget to follow me, Rockstar. Thank you so much for engaging with me on this live. Are you into mental health? Are you into having a healthy relationship with yourself? That would be great if you can comment. Have you ever suffered from depression or not? Because the questions I want to ask Kuntabi saying is, what does the journey of healing and self-discovery mean to her, especially in the context of mental health? How is it working out for her? How is it working out for her? And what made her or what led her to eventually say, okay, I want to get the healing that I want to get? To those who are joining in, we have a guest. However, she's struggling with her internet, and we are just waiting for her as I chat with Rockstar from India. Yeah. Because mental health is very important. People are losing their lives because of depression, and they also don't have the wisdom as to how to navigate depression. Meaning that our minds, we're allowing our minds to play tricks on us. And yet, when we get the relevant help from therapists, even pastors who are equipped, can help us, heal depression or live with depression. I think we have to live with it because it's so powerful. It's our minds that are doing this thing. Let me just check up on my guest before she says I left her out of the chat. What is on your mind? How has your day been? Is everything going well with you? Are you guys having a great day? Well, it's evening now. I don't think it's a day. We're like past 7 o'clock at night. In the evening, mental health, the power of having a positive mind. Sure, I cannot wait. The power of having a positive mind. Sometimes it's not even about a positive mind. I think it is about a healed mind. It is actually having a strong mind that even when an illness like depression comes in or anxiety, you know what to do. We need those tips from our therapist as to what should we do when we are feeling down, when we feel like everything is just coming to an end. It would be great for that. Do not worry if I am stalling, it is because we are in between. Any problem there? Hmm. So, Rockstar, whereabouts in India are you? I would love to come to India, but I need to go to the side in your country. I don't know, but there's a side apparently that is vegetarian. I would love. Okay, she's on her way. Do 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 do. Okay, let's see. This is, you see things that are happening on a live. things that happen on a live. You're waiting for your guests to come through to finish what they were talking about. Okay, now she says she's trying. A journey to healing and self discovery. Maybe another part that we should get into is, have you discovered yourself and who are you? As you are now in this journey of healing and you've discovered yourself, who is the new Tabiseng? Who is the Tabiseng of 2025? You know, what should we look out? Oh, there she is. What should we look out for her, from her? What is she going to do? In this journey of healing, I'm sure when you discover yourself, you have to reintroduce yourself. Hey, welcome. You're back.
Thank you, thank you. Wow. It's actually, yeah, it was actually weird. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's so normal because it is what it is. We can't control it. But you were getting, I think, do you remember where you were? Your last point.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how I used to like turn the pillow around when I was
Yes.
at night so that I can
So that
cry
I
and
can
nobody
cry
finds
and
out
nobody
that,
finds out that
because I had to sort of like store up all that pain that I was emotional pain that I was going through and only let it out at night.
Mm,
So then it was the only way I could pretty much survive, because you don't want to make it worse by getting beaten up because you were just crying, you know. But as it turns out, like mental health professionals will tell you that if something is painful, is hurtful, whether it's emotionally hurtful or it's physically hurtful, the body does not know the difference. The impact is the same. So, which
mm,
is why someone beats you up, you cry. Someone hurts you emotionally, you cry. So actually,
mm,
it's not a good practice to not let someone release their emotions. But our parents didn't know that. They were just thinking that maybe they are trying to build maybe strong kids. Maybe if our parents knew that there is a long-term emotional impact in not allowing kids to cry when they should cry, they were going
mm,
to let us cry. It is pretty much every parent trying to create a good character out of their child. So a lot of my wounds that I'm now healing from, they are accidental, which is why it was so easy for me to forgive my mom for everything, because I understood that she was pretty much showing up every day as a best self and giving me what she has. She was young, trying to navigate life. Sometimes I take my age and I subtract my age from hers to see how old she was when she was having to raise me. And I'm like, she was a kid, man. If you are still in your 20s, mid 20s, you are still young. And
yeah.
you are expected to have things figured out, and you even haven't traveled your own journey of actually getting to understand your own triggers, and you already have these kids that are actually depending on you to raise them, and you're really just trying to keep them alive, you're trying to keep them breathing, and over and above that, there's also another need to look after their emotional needs. Nobody ever points that out for you. Nobody cared about your emotional needs growing up. So how are you supposed to know that emotions are a thing? You know? So, but
Mm,
yeah, with me, I pretty much in this period that I have been in, I learned that I actually have been suffering some sort of depression throughout my life, because it became intense, right? Now as an entrepreneur, I a couple of episodes of depression, and they were a lot more intense than they have been previously. And then when I experienced that, I realized that I did experience many episodes of this feeling, except I maybe I was a little bit too spiritual to admit that it's depression, or maybe I didn't even know that it's depression. And also, I was distracted enough to not have to pay attention to it. You know, like you just disappear in your bed for the whole weekend, and on Monday, you show up as your best self in the corporate. And there's people you are talking to, there's work that you have to do, and then you don't have to sit down and pay attention to the fact that you are possibly depressed. But I realized when it became intense that it's a feeling I've had before. It was just not as intense. So I think that is one thing that pushed me into realizing that I actually need some sort of intervention, which is actually strange. You know, when I actually left corporate, it was end of 2021, and we were just recovering from the pandemic, all the lockdowns and stuff like that. At the top of my head, the one thing I actually felt like I should do first before as from the beginning of my entrepreneurship, the one thing I had a feeling I should do was that I should see a therapist, right? I just felt like we've been through a lot as the world, and maybe I should heal from that. And also, during the pandemic, I actually lost a loved one, and that was like very heavy. And it was, I think, yeah, around that 2021 that I had to bury a loved one, which was heavy. So I pretty much felt like I needed some sort of therapy, and I didn't take it seriously. Like, I mean, I didn't prioritize it. I always thought I'm gonna do it. It's one of the things you think you kind of will do it, but you just don't do it. You like, I should do it, and you just never do it. So then, until it got to a point where it was. Oh, sorry, I have a an alarm that I have to dismiss. Yeah, done. Yeah, so until it started, like threatening the very business in the form of, anxiety and depression that I could actually feel. And then I started traveling the journey with a therapist. It was last year, early last year. It's not as early as now. It's a little later than now. Maybe it was around April, May that I actually started going through therapy. And wow, I feel like that was the most life changing experience. One of the most life changing experiences that I would have to record as a person. And I felt like this is a journey I should have traveled long time ago, because then I also it taught me a lot about my behaviors, my self-sabotaging behaviors, the way I behaved in corporate, the way I showed up as a person, and how it showed me how it's been sabotaging my romantic relationships. Like, I am 40 plus, and I I imagined my life is that by now I should be married with kids, and I am not even engaged, right? And I pretty much could not put a finger to it. But then, having gone through this process actually taught me that I was most likely repelling the relationships, because then I got taught of my blind spots, the stuff that I do on a daily basis that sabotage my relationships and that I am not even aware of. Okay, here's the thing. If I was not allowed to be emotional or to be vulnerable as a child, which is why I had to sort of disappear um and use my pillow at night in order to cry. It pretty much means that I when my brain was developing, it was during the development stages of my brain, when my brain is learning what is important, what is not. Those stages, I was taught that it is not safe to be vulnerable.
Wow.
It is not safe to hand over. my heart to someone. It's not safe to give myself to someone. So, and
Yeah.
I'm out here trying to give myself and my heart to people. But here is the thing. Your relationship with your parent is
Mm.
your first intimate relationship. That is your first intimate relationship. So there's no one who comes as close as your parent does before your parent, right? So what does that mean? It pretty much means that I learn from my relationship with my mom what intimacy looks like, what vulnerability looks like, what emotional connection looks like. I have to learn from my mom what it means when someone says I'm sorry. So what happens in the case where I have never heard my mom say to me, I am sorry? I don't know what to do with those. I start thinking that everyone is pretty much pretending because I don't know what to do with your sorries. My mom didn't say to me, didn't apologize to me, so I don't know how to receive it. My mom didn't allow me to be emotionally vulnerable to her, so I don't know how to be emotionally vulnerable to a romantic partner. So
Yeah.
then it then makes sense why actually I find myself now, which is not the reason why we started therapy in the first place. But then you realize that you actually needed the whole therapy thing way before, because then if I maybe started therapy in my 20s, I would have figured out that, oh, okay, actually if I don't go back to the past and heal these parts, there are certain things that the past is going to rob me of, but I didn't know, you know. Also, I do not have regrets for having starting late, because I cannot regret not having done something I didn't know I had to do, you
Mm.
know. Also, even when I desire to go through therapy during the pandemic, it's mostly because of what we went through as the world, which I found very stressful. Like, we went through a very long period of uncertainty, and it turns out my brain cannot work very well with uncertainty. So it I had to heal from that, right? But here's the thing. When two people go into a traumatic experience, something like the pandemic, right? And also something, I'm going to use this example. I don't know if I'm even qualified to use it because I don't know it from personal experience. Apparently, when two people go into war, right? Soldiers go into war. Um, when they come out of it and they have to heal from trauma, right? How they experience the traumatic experience of war, and how I would have experienced the traumatic experience of the pandemic, depends on our individual backgrounds.
That's
So
true.
if I go in there already wounded emotionally, it pretty much just reinforces the wound that is already there, so it just messes me up even more.
Mm.
And then it's that's what they picked up with people that go into war. The soldiers, some soldiers, they come out, then they go through therapy for a short period, a few months, they've bounced out of it. And with some soldiers, they go on for years and years and years, and they don't make much progress. And when they started trying to understand, but we are taking these people through the same type of therapy, and they went through the same war. Why is it that the other one is healing and the other one is struggling to heal? They went to dig into their backgrounds. That's when they realized that the amount of emotional trauma they carry going into the war actually paints the picture of how much they're going to be able to heal, or how quickly they're going to be able to heal from, that the trauma. So yes, we would have
Amazing.
gone through the pandemic, and in my case, I went through with my own wounds that were already sitting there needing to be healed, and it might have frustrated my brain even more. So coming out of it, I yes.
Yes, I wanted to jump in before or move on. It's the same with unemployment. Two people can both be unemployed in South Africa.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
will be positive, pushing, not caring, and one will be saying they're depressed and they want to exit this life because they're not getting a job. So
yeah.
you're right when you say, Guti, we can go
Mm,
through the same thing, but we
yeah.
don't deal with it the same way. Other people
Mm,
made
mm,
during the pandemic, but other people lost
yeah.
family members. We are not the same. Our backgrounds
Mm,
also were not the same. So you're right.
yeah.
I just want to add that even the unemployment, we see how other people it makes them
Mm,
to be depressed, but with others they become creative and they become happier. Like they don't even need this job, but they're looking for
yeah,
employment.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. Also brain types play a role into these situations, right?
mhm.
I'm realizing that my brain type, the type of a brain I have, is more on the adventurous side. It loves adventure. It wants to know what's the next best thing. So if you pretty much put my brain in a situation that is monotonous and there's nothing to look forward to for a prolonged period, that alone is just going to drive me into depression. And even though there's nothing that is going wrong and everything is just going right, the fact that I don't have something to get excited on, there's no goal that I'm trying to work towards, then the brain loses an entire sense of purpose. It's like, I don't know why I should get out of bed. There is nothing we are working towards.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
brain types as well. And then you find there are people that are totally fine, being a receptionist for like 20, 30 years, and they don't know what to do next. They're totally fine with it. And I
Mm,
sit there, I'm like, how can you be a receptionist for so long? You see, it doesn't make sense in my brain, right? But now that I understand that we have different brain types, I have no judgment for people. In fact, I have envy for them. I'm like, it must be cool to live in a brain that is so content that you can literally just do one job for the rest of your life and be so peaceful and show up at your best and be sitting with your lipstick and be like and taking the phone and say hello and be like you are so happy. I'm like, I wish I could be this happy with just one job. I can't, like, I need a bit
mm,
of adventure. But yeah,
mm.
brain types, they also play a role.
I
But
want to ask you. I want to ask the depression
yes.
question. Is
Yeah.
depression thoughts, negative thoughts, or just, yeah, like let me say negative thoughts that keep replaying in your mind? Is that what depression is?
So, depression is, I'm going to tell you what I understand about depression. I want to make an example using something. Um, it's like, yeah, it's like, you see, I have this nice little box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to pretend that this is my brain. Do you know what a
Mm-hmm.
brain is? A brain is a physical thing. We're not talking about a mind. We're talking about
Mm,
something physical, right?
mm-hmm.
So depression, the way Dr. Daniel Amen, you can search for Dr. Amen, Dr. Daniel Amen, who is a very famous psychiatrist, talks about it. He says, if suppose this is a brain
Right.
and it is healthy, when you scan it, you can see this is the shape of it, right? This is a normal shape. When you put it through a scanner, he likes scanning brain. He scans a lot of brains. Now, Dr. Amen says if you scan the same brain and it is going through depression, it will be like, if this was a piece of paper and you just like went to yeah, it it looks awful. It looks
It looks
different. It doesn't look like a normal brain.
like a small
So
box of.
physically,
Mm,
yeah, physically, your brain, when you are going through depression, it is not in the same shape that it normally is in when you are normal, when you are feeling normal and you are not depressed. Which is
What
why mm,
what has crumpled it up? I mean, I want to know the object that has now crumpled, changed the shape of the brain. Is it
yeah.
thoughts? Is it imicabango yethu?
Yeah, it's a number of things that it's trauma, you know. Trauma is one of the things that sort of gets the brain to get into that state, and excessive anxiety. So here's the thing that you must understand. When you are when you are anxious or when you are stressed about something, right? You use a lot of brain power. You use a lot of resources in order to to reason with the situation, to negotiate with the situation. So whatever you are going through sort of gets to a point where it depletes something called neurotransmitters, and there's a important neurotransmitter called serotonin, which if you run out of, I'm obviously oversimplifying the concept. I'm not a neuroscientist.
Mm,
um there's a if you run out of serotonin, which is something that you would have overspent because of the state you have been perpetually in, you go into depression, which is why when they put you on something called antidepressants, they are normally called SSRIs. And from what I'm understanding about SSRIs, is that they try to inhibit the depletion of serotonin, so that the little serotonin that you are producing in the brain, the brain, your body, doesn't metabolize it. So it has to create it. It also has to let go. So what they do when they give you antidepressants is that they try to preserve that serotonin, because once
okay.
serotonin is depleted, you go into depression, right? And
Mm,
because of the state, the perpetual state you've been in, you have depleted those neurotransmitters. So
okay.
it's pretty much, I don't want to talk much about what chemically happens in the brain when you go through depression, but then given the fact that you now have a brain that is in a different state and that is not getting enough of
Why does your network die after a while? Like, where? I think she's having another network problem. Network problem. Yeah, because I'm still connected. Girl, let me just send her a WhatsApp because she has frozen. Or doesn't she have data? Wow. She froze and vanished. Network problems in South Africa. In South Africa, guys, how can we have network problems when we are in the heart of the conversation? The heart of the conversation, we're having such a great. There you go. Uvele wathula. Hey. Okay, it's so she can join back and then can now need to add her again. Is it the same thing? My watching and you're seeing all these glitches happening in real time, just bear with us because I am trying to grow my YouTube channel. That is why I want to do, well, that's why I've started doing live here every Thursday. So I'm doing all these lives so that we can grow the channel and have such chats. Welcome back. See, I had to remove you and add you again.
Yeah, it's strange, and I didn't even have to change network this time. I have no idea why that happened. Yeah,
Mm.
I do you still
Back.
remember where? Thank you.
We're going,
Oh
I
yes,
remember.
I was saying that because the brain is not in the same state that it normally is, even physically, it also manifests in behaviors. It means that you are more inclined to lean on thoughts that are darker
Mm,
because your brain does not have the brain in its physical form is a mess. So your thoughts are a little bit on the darker side. You lack motivation. I don't, the depression that I struggle with does not involve dark thoughts, me
okay.
personally, but I am aware that to some people it may manifest in dark thoughts, right? But in my case, it manifests in lack of motivation and not finding any sense in things that normally make sense. Like I think the worst I've had was being unable to convince myself to get out of bed or even to open the curtains. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the simple act of opening curtains was feeling like a bit of a difficulty. And um yeah, it's those things. And
Let me
it could go on for like a week. Oh yeah, also I would
ask.
not be able to respond to messages. I would not be able to take calls. So I would pretty much like put my phone on silent and put it away and not communicate to anybody. And I would not have the ability to communicate. Like I would not have it. It's communicating to people is such a small thing, not when you are depressed.
Tell me something. Are we connecting this with their upbringing? So the abandonment, maybe how strict parents, you're growing into this and you, when your brain, meaning from abandonment and from life as a young girl, your brain it has shrinked as the picture that you showed me. So it's not a normal
Mhm.
box anymore. Now it is a dented box.
It's a bit,
That's
yeah.
the reason
So
why.
So when we did the exercise with my therapist, and then I got to understand something called my type of attachment style, right? There's
Okay.
things called attachment styles in mental health. And then when I
Mm.
found out that what my attachment style is, I wanted to know more about what it means to have such an attachment style. And I found out that people with my attachment style are prone to anxiety and depression.
What is your attachment style? Are you anxious?
No,
Okay.
it it's no longer mine because I'm recovering. But I can tell you that I am a
Good, good. I like
I
that. You know
am
what
I
I'm
am yeah, I am recovering from a fearful, avoidant attachment style.
Oh,
So
fearful.
what it means,
Okay.
yeah, so basically how that plays out is that in a romantic relationship, I can come across as confusing. So my romantic partner does not know if I'm coming or going because I sort of like want to be loved, but I don't know how to do that. So I sort of send mixed signals. I'm not even aware that I do those things. But then when
Oh,
I found out that that's what I most likely do, I recalled what, people have been partners with have said to me, and I realized actually this is most likely true because then I realized that there are words that they said that pretty much pointed to the fact that they found it confusing ukuthi uyafuna yini ukuba kule relationship noma cha, because you pretty much say you want to be here, but your actions are pulling away because remember, I don't feel safe to be vulnerable. So there's always a part of me that I'm keeping to myself. So another person will pretty much sense it. Like, I am here trying to love you, but emotionally you keep pulling away. So that's pretty much how it looks. Now, yeah, with that, it's those are the subsequent things that I learned on this journey. And from that I was taught self-compassion and self-love, and there's a lot of things I was taught. I was taught to be assertive, and it turns out that I tend to be passive. And I learned how to be a lot more um assertive and communicate, my feelings and my needs and stuff like that. So then I have been learning. My sessions, they ended sometime in August, end of August, and from the time they started, pretty much until now, I've been growing because I realized that actually healing is not an overnight thing, right? And also, so what healing looks like? It looks like you have like a pathway that goes to a certain place, maybe a pathway that goes to school, right? And then you get taught to go see, actually the pathway that you've been using going to school is not the best one. And then you have to like find a new one. So you pretty much have to travel back. And then this time around you're traveling back with a coach that is showing you why that pathway is not the good one and why it's messing you up. And then they show you the things you didn't realize about that pathway, so that you realize that along the way you were gathering stuff that is not good for you. And you pretty much travel that pathway now with consciousness. You are conscious of what is happening. You're not just walking because that's what you know. So now after that, you have to create a brand new path. But now it's like a field. There's no path. You have to create it. You
Yeah.
have to you have to find a brand new path, and you must create it. You have to create a brand new one for yourself because the one that you've been using. So it means that with every step of the way, you have to stop and ask yourself, how do I create a path out of this? How do I? Because now, with every conversation, you have to think about, you have to keep on checking on yourself. If you if you have to check that you are not just being passive, you are not going back to the default settings, because your default settings is that childhood conditioning, right? So you have to be mindful when there's a lot of times when someone is asking a question and my immediate answer is no, because I have a lot of no's, right? And now I would immediately say no in my head, and then I will ask myself a question: what if I said yes? And then I will motivate the yes, right? And I will think about, rehearse the yes, or what could be the possible outcome of the yes. And then I will come back to you and I'll say yes to something I would otherwise would have said no to. Pretty much because I realized that I no longer have to be fearful. I no longer have to be avoidant. I no longer have to be scared. I understand that I am safe. There's no need for me. There's no one who's going to punish me for being emotionally vulnerable. There's no need for me to act out my past anymore. I can pretty much have freedom to step into the the new future, the future that I of the person I am becoming. actually on my WhatsApp profile. If you check my WhatsApp, you will see that my about says becoming. And if you
So
check my profile picture, if you check my profile, it wasn't intentional, but now I've kept it there
for a very long time. I hope this network does not cut out. Mhm.
Okay, I'm back. Am I back?
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you properly.
Okay, but Mina, you're not sounding well. I'm gonna have to take you out and bring you back. There's even feedback. There's even feedback. There's even feedback. Welcome to everyone who's just joining now. Welcome to everyone who's joining now, who's been holding on. Like, thank you so much. We're about to close the chat. We are definitely about to close the chat. And come back next week, Thursday. Come back next week, Thursday, and see how that will be. We are speaking to my friend Intabi Singh, who is in a journey of healing and self-discovery. So she's basically talking about her depression journey, her self-love journey, and this journey has been less traveled by her, and she's excited that now she can be more assertive, now she can be, more direct. Now she can just chase after her dreams because she has worked with a therapist and she has dealt with her childhood trauma. It's very important for us to do shadow work. In my first podcast, you will notice talking to a hypnotherapist, and he basically can help you to go back to your baby years and getting they deal with whatever traumatized you, that trauma that you have been speaking about here, on how it affects your mind. So this is very important because now we're realizing that your past plays a role in who you will become. Now hypnotherapy is there to reprogram your shadow self, your younger self. Instead of saying over here saying, I spoke to a therapist so that we can deal and work through the stuff that I went through when I was young. Okay. So basically, in order to go forward, some people, depending on how severe your trauma was or the hurt, we just have to speak to a professional and sort out our past so that we can be else, better people. Welcome back, Ntabiseng. We're about to close it off. I want us to do an hour. Now that you are enjoying this journey of self healing, who are you? Because also it's
Not
also self healing.
healthy. Yeah, I'm enjoying this journey of healing, and it is pretty much with the big assistance of my therapist. Thanks to
Mm,
her, and her very passion for this therapy thing. Yes, you were saying.
I was saying now that you are probably in the self discovery, do
Yeah.
you know who you are now? And in your assertiveness, please don't be harsh to us. Please, it's as you are working on yourself. How do you then not overdo it? Ngoba phela now you are healing, you are there. How do you balance it that you don't over be assertive up until you offend us?
It's very easy because the way in which I was raised, I was raised to be a people pleaser. The conditions that I was raised on, they created a people's pleaser out of me, right?
I hear you.
So I know how to please people. I know how to be very kind to people. That comes in very naturally. I know how to look after other people's emotions and wellness first. It's just that it's something that I never afforded myself. So what I have been now learning is that, yeah, this is the beauty of therapy. If you pick up the toxic patterns of your past and what they made you, and you try to fix it yourself, you are going to go from one extreme to the other extreme, right? But that's why you must work with the assistance of a mental health professional, because then they will teach you how to do it the right way, so that you don't go from a people's pleaser into a mean person. Because you go from being people's pleasing, you and then you go into just cutting people out of your life because they are toxic, right? Because you realize ukuthi they are depleting you. But with the assistance of a mental health professional, the whole goal is for you to come out of the situation having created a meaningful relationship that is mutually respectful and mutually beneficial, right? So I think the only people who suffer along the way are people who pretty much just came with their agenda to take advantage of your, like, your vulnerabilities, the fact that you are a people's pleaser who came to exploit that. Because then you begin to not be exploitable. You begin to expect a mutually respectful relationship. This is when you start building boundaries. So then obviously, if I came to you on the basis that I can see that you lack boundaries and I'm going to take advantage of that, I am not going to like the fact that you are now setting healthy boundaries. You are saying, "Hore, okay, for us to continue, this is our new terms." Because primarily that's, yeah. But otherwise, I feel like I am most likely becoming a much gentler person, and this is how it plays out. I am learning the thing called self-care and self-compassion and self-love. And I feel like it's only now that I'm grasping it. Healing takes time. And how that shows up, it means that every night, even now, as we finish this live video, every night I sit down with a pen and then I write myself a note. And the notes that I write myself, they look like, um it's like, they look like someone. Maybe I live with someone, maybe a romantic partner who like truly loves and sees me and understands me, and they are telling me what they think of me. It's pretty much, it sounds something like that, except it's me talking to my and writing to myself. So I write these notes to myself that I read first thing in the morning when I wake up in the morning. And I love them. They are so amazing. So the more I write them, let me see if I can find some of them. I don't know why I didn't put them in. They are here. I just have to find them for you. They're not anywhere far. Yeah. So it basically means that I write myself those beautiful notes of self-compassion, and and I realize that they make me feel seen and they make me feel heard, and I am seen by the one person who matters the most. And why am I the one person who matters the most is because I am the one person I spend the most time with, right?
Yes.
More than I spend time with any other person, I spend time with myself. So if I actually look after myself, if I see myself and I recognize myself, I pretty much am the person who I'm spending most of my time with. So I need to earn my respect first, more than I need to earn other people's respect, or more than I need to respect other people. I also need to earn my own respect. I need to depend on myself. I have to create safety within my. Oh, here's the thing: if your internal world feels safe, right? If you can create that safety within yourself, when you go out there into the world, regardless of how the world is, you already are self-regulating, so you know what you are letting in and what you are not letting in. You know what you are accepting and what you are not accepting in, but also you are going with a calm spirit, right? You are not going from an anxious point, so it actually plays out so well. So one of the things that I wrote to myself, I see here, I was saying on the 12th of March, where it's recent. um I was saying training is going well and the body is adjusting. Let's support it with 1 hour naps midday where possible. We have a lot going on, adapting to consistency, keeping a clean house, cooking, keeping clean laundry, planning content, writing long stories and poetry, learning new skills, um, while while making clients to be happy. Let us pace
Yeah.
ourselves to avoid burnout. Much love. And if
Mm.
after this note, I realized that I actually made it a point. Even this today, before we had this, I took an hour nap where I set an alarm to say after an hour, my phone should wake me up because I should take naps, because I've recently started training for races because I'm going back to running. And
Okay.
training gets hectic on the body, so you get a lot of fatigue going on. And
Mm.
also there are certain adjustments that I'm doing. I'm getting myself into a mode where, let's see what yeah, there's this one that I wrote for today, last night for today, where I said, finally the dots are coming together, and the long time hidden and neglected treasures now noticed and valued. I've always known that you are powerful and a bit unreal, and it turns out you are much more. I'm here for all of it. Happy to watch your story unfold. I love you dearly. Well done for nipping today.
Nice.
And this is pretty much the note to myself. So you know what this means. Maybe you will feel like as I'm trying to look after myself, I could be neglecting other people, and it's not even the case at all. Because when I'm sitting at the salon and I listen to clients say things to themselves that are harsh,
Mm.
because I have been so kind to myself, when I hear them speaking to themselves in that way, I begin to cringe. And I'm like, no, you can't
Mm.
speak to yourself like that.
True.
So actually, it makes me a kinder person. And
Yes.
it helps you. It allows me to help you, to bring you into the journey where you realize that you don't have to be so harsh to yourself. Like I
Mm.
listen to people criticize. They walk into the salon and they start telling me that their hands are ugly. And I'm like, why do you come to my salon and you feel like in the first 5 minutes of our conversation, you must body shame yourself? Why?
It's
Like,
why.
so yes, yes. So people do this a lot and they don't even realize that it's not being kind to themselves, and the body is actually taking records of these things. And we will, I hope this is the beginning of the conversation, but in our other sessions we will unpack, because our bodies are actually taking a record
Your
of all the mean things that we are experiencing, and that manifest in many other ways
the
later on.
network is giving us
So which is
problems
why we
again
must
now.
actually, I beg your pardon.
The network is giving us problems.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Okay. The
um
moment Mokuma slow, yeah, connect. It's like you're coming back.
yeah. Okay. Well, I was saying, did
Okay.
you get to hear what I was saying though?
Where? No, 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 no. Lana, after the self love, like the notes, then it started acting up. Satan was, no, I'm going to be jealous. We're not doing this.
Yeah, I think it might be on your side,
Yeah.
because when it's on my side, it begins to do that circle thing.
And I mean, I get well now. I can hear you, but there's no picture, which is fine. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do
I
you
can
see
hear
how
you
you?
properly and I can see your picture. Hmm?
Or you can hear me properly and see my picture.
Yeah, yeah,
There, welcome back. Mina, I wanted to say you write notes for yourself. Mina, I will journal, but also the new thing I've learned now was to record, go voice recorder on my phone. I will
yeah,
record words to myself, like I'll talk to myself, like, hey,
yeah,
Oguhle, and I just speak to myself. So I was driving to East Rand and I listened. The Holy Spirit was like, listen to your recording. And I played it, and the recording reminded me because I was going to a place where I go back into people pleaser. I go back to the worst version of myself. I had to listen to it so it can remind me as you're going to that place, do not people please. As you're going to that place, do not sleep on yourself. Like now, do a live. You know, Thursdays you've committed against my live. You now continue doing it. Don't say no, but now I'm not at my place. You know, so those notes that you're writing to yourself, those techniques are so good for all of us to just know. Ukuthi sometimes you have to talk to yourself, and our subconscious needs to get used to us speaking to ourselves in a kind manner to
mm.
reprogram, because we don't want to be people pleasers anymore. We don't want to be anxious. We don't want to be all these things. We want to be the best version of ourselves.
Of ourselves, yes. Also, which we will talk about in other lives, I guess. We also want to unleash the gold that has been hidden, because this is
Mm,
what happens when we are not living our best life. We have treasures and we go and dig and hide them. And there's a reason why we go dig up and we hide them somewhere. It's because anything that is your genius, when people pick it up, they attack it, right? Because that's your power. Sometimes it
mm,
triggers jealousy out of people and hate. And then people speak to you a certain way and they start criticizing you in order to shrink you. And as you are growing up and you are really just trying to survive life, you realize that you must hide these things for people to not find them out, because when they realize who you are, they attack it. So now, but then
mm.
you hide them so far that you even hide them away from yourself.
Ooh,
And which is why later on, we must now go and dig. And do you know what they are hidden in? They
mm,
are wrapped up in fears
mm.
and triggers.
Wow.
So for us, for us to reach them, we have to confront all the fears that have wrapped our treasures and all the triggers. And triggers are not nice.
Yes, they're not.
And one of my most weird moments of healing was doing an exercise that sort of went to trigger hidden emotions, right?
Mm,
That I was not aware they were there. And do you know what that manifested as?
mm.
It manifested in dreams that were filled with guilt and shame.
Oh,
So it turned out that because I was going through healing, my my brain was bringing to my attention all the hidden emotions. Then I realized that there was a lot of guilt and shame that has been trapped and hidden. And it turns out that guilt and shame, it paralyzes me. It makes me unable to get things done. So
mm,
if I have deep sense of shame and guilt on something, instead of being empowered to fix it, I get paralyzed altogether from doing it. Then I don't want to even face it. So then I had to start dissolving those feelings and work them through. For me to I had to release the fears of those feelings of shame and guilt. And I'm like, but Jesus died for my sins. Jesus died, like, Jesus died to free me from these very feelings that I have, that I'm carrying, that are so deep and they are paralyzing my life. And I'm like, then I understand why Jesus died in the first place, because he knew that I cannot be the best version of myself carrying these feelings of guilt and shame. And it's like, okay, bring me all your shame and all your guilt so that you are free to live. And here I
Come
am,
on,
I'm still carrying it. So
come
I'm like,
on.
okay. Then you know how that manifested. It manifested in me not feeling fearful to do things, like um we the whole thing of not keeping a clean house is associated with feelings of guilt and shame, because we shame you for not keeping a clean house. And I didn't know that I felt shame about it, because I had gotten used to not making sure that my house is always clean, right? So then I thought that I was fine with it. And when I resolved those feelings, I realized that it's okay for me to clean. Then I was like, it became easy because I didn't approach cleaning with heavy emotions of trying to
That's it.
correct something that makes me feel shame, because I didn't have shame anymore.
Yeah.
So I was approaching it from a healthy place to say, it's my home. I love it. I appreciate it. So I'm looking after it. So then it was an easy thing, an easy exercise, because those feelings that were paralyzing me are gone. So now I'm
Mm.
telling you, it was the heaviest thing ever and the most difficult thing ever to get myself to clean my home. I even just told my family that I don't like cleaning. And when it gets to a point where I realize it's getting out of hand, I would just hire someone to come and do it. Because
Yeah.
I can't get myself to do it. So, but now it's an easy thing for me to do. And even if I hire someone to come and, help out, it will be because I may be locked in other projects that are more time consuming, and I'll rather maybe spend the time on those other projects than, spend time cleaning. But we will expand
Mm.
on that. We were just, yeah, we were just touch
We will
basing
definitely,
on
we will
some
definitely
of the
expand.
things that happen. Mm.
Mm. Well, this is part one. Things you touched on, and I want us to have a conversation. Abo, you
Yes.
have a goal, you want to do something, but because of fears and the triggers, now that has made us to not even get things started. But Mina, I'm always available. You know me. I'm always available to do a
Mm.
live. Always available to have a conversation that makes me to think. Well, some people can't afford maybe Serad. But after listening to this, they take these pointers. Mutaparak, no, let me work on this. And at least it's step one. By the time you meet, the professional, you now know, okay, I'm ready. We have to normalize these conversations so that people want to heal. Because Mina, I promise you, this is why I have to do my life to grow my channel. No one wants to have a healthy mind. No one was no, Imarancane. When I continue with your positivity, see now we're not there. We're okay being broken, you know, messed up. We like that. So we have to continue having these conversations. Oh, sorry, girl. The
Yeah,
feedback
so
on my side.
yeah, here's a fun part for our next conversation, right? Did you know that um okay, first of all, did you know that our bodies they store trauma in a physical form? There's something called neuropeptides, which are protein-like substances that our bodies store physically in our body. When you have a traumatic situation and you don't resolve it in your mind, your body stores a record of it in the form of neuropeptides, which is why when something like that triggers it, you have a physical response that you can feel. because physically there's a record in your body that is physical that says this is not good, right? That's another thing we're going to talk about. And the fact that even if you can build your stress level tolerance to a certain level that I can speak to you in a bad way, mean way, and you can get to a point where you have adapted to how mean people are, and you no longer care that people are mean. But here's the interesting conversation we are going to talk about. It doesn't mean that your body
Very,
doesn't know that I was mean. Your body still
I can't wait.
records. So it continues to record. So, and we will also talk about the consequence of what happens when that has built up. And then another conversation we're going to have is the fact that did you know that when you are a child and your parents do not fulfill the promises they make for you, or they don't, so they tell you that we're going to buy you something in the future, and then they don't fulfill the promise. We're going to take you to the park, and they don't fulfill the promise. And then they also don't have a whole pattern of planning ahead, right? It it actually makes your brain to give up in planning for the future. So now, if I tell you that how my salon works, it works with appointment. So I'm basically asking you to plan your life ahead. You have to tell me that you are coming to my salon next week, Tuesday, at 8 o'clock. I send your brain into a freeze because the brain is like, the future is unreliable. We will talk about
Mm,
that.
we'll talk
Um,
about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
I need to cut the live now.
cut the live now. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciated the time, and I'm so sorry for those technical inconsistencies. And I'm hoping that
It's
next
fine.
time I will be better prepared for it. There were like these pop-ups. Yeah.
No, it's fine. Thank
No,
you
it's
so much.
fine. Thank you so much.
Because it's feedbacking, I'm gonna catch us
Feedbacking.
when
I'm
we want.
gonna catch us in one. Okay.
Yes. Thank you to everyone who has watched till this far. You can tell Ugel enjoys talking about this conversation because she is, on a journey of self discovery and healing. So, of course, with all this information that she's gathering, she would to share it with us so that we can learn from her and then become better people. Thank you for joining me in this live. I will see you next week, Thursday, for another live. And you will see a podcast coming through. And of course, one on one videos where we have conversations about everything to make you a better person, positive, you don't give up on yourself. I am Ogutle Nkosi, based in South Africa. Do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you on the next one. Cheers.